Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. You're not going to want to miss this one because today we finally get to see, or hopefully see, this truck turn on. You probably guessed it already, but we finally got our battery cables in. We're going to get the truck wired up, see where we're at. You can see the battery cables. We'll go over that. It's been a long time coming. Every video that y'all have watched up until this point, the truck hasn't done anything at the conclusion of each video, but this video will change that. We're gonna see if we can't key on power, get some dinging in the cab, get some lights going. Hopefully no codes, nothing like that, but it is that time. This is a huge step. Been waiting for this moment a long time. It did take a little bit to get the battery cables in, a little bit longer than expected. That's why you're starting to see a gap in the videos. But with that, super excited to see what it does tonight. Gonna get this wired in, so stay tuned and we'll get to work. So huge thanks to Performance Custom Cables. Brendan Wilson hooked us up with these cables. We have everything that we need to wire a single battery truck in. These are super nice, very, very, very well done. They labeled everything, so it's gonna be a pretty easy install. They have everything for your alternator cable back to your battery, and then you have the starter cable, and then you have a little extra one down here. We'll go over that. In the intro of the video, you could see that we just have one battery. This is a Group 31 upgrade AGM battery, so it's going to be able to turn the engine over no problem and also pull any auxiliaries you want to hook up to the battery. So that's the battery that we went with. It's just a Duracell Marine and RV Ultra deep cycle battery, but they're able to hook us up. So we do have to do a little bit of work for this end, but we'll cover that as well. And then basically, these are just some leftover bolts that I had that we're going to use to ground to the frame and then to the block. And then everything is just going to hook up to this battery over here. And then I'm kind of just as curious as y'all are because I have no idea what the truck is going to do once we get power to it. The key is out of the ignition, so there's nothing telling the truck to turn on, but there is going to be power running through everything once we hook this up. So kind of excited to see what it does. But yeah, we're just going to start with the ground first, get everything grounded, and then we're going to work on the hot side, work up underneath the starter, and then we'll kind of go from there. But should be a fun video to watch. So I'm going to be seeing it for the first time just like y'all do. Hopefully it goes well. But we'll hop right into it. Let's go ahead and get the ground wire from the battery to the block, and then I'll show you what we did on that. So I opted for the blue ground cable just to put some color underneath the hood. I kind of like it. But this is going to be your cable that runs from the battery down to the block. They do have everything labeled super easy. Driver side block, and that's just going to go to driver side battery negative. If we take it over here, we have plenty of room. And it's going to go from here down to there. And where we're going to mount this, and we're going to go ahead and put it right down here. I'm pretty sure that that's where the factory one goes as well. We already chipped our paint away, so we get a good solid ground to our block. And then we also chase this thread out with a tap. So this is about as good as ground as you can get. Second gens are notorious for having electrical issues. Right now, I'm trying to combat all that with making sure we have good marine or military style terminals, and then also good clean surface to ground to on the block, and then as well as the frame. We'll look at that next, but let's go ahead and get this one installed, see where we're at, and then we'll go ahead and get the frame one installed afterwards. All right, so you're going to notice two ends. One has a larger hole through it, and then one has a smaller one. The larger one is going to go down to the block. This one's going to go to the terminal of the battery. So we're going to focus on this one first, get it bolted down. This bolt right here is a 12-1.75, I believe. So this one will screw right down here to the front of the block. So I did go ahead and do something a little different for the frame one. I did draw out this double seamed frame rail portion so I could tap a little more threads into the metal. But usually the one on your factory harness has a frame bolt running basically where this hole is, but because of our third bracket, it's covering it up, it looks like. Plus, this is only single-sided metal. It's not lipped over like it is up here. So it's going to be easier to access. I just drilled a, I think, 13/32 hole and then tapped it with the same thread that we had for this one because I had another bolt just like it. And it should work just perfectly. It's going to stay out of the way of our intercool piping as that one comes up and around up to our intake horn. So we're going to clear that. Did sand it back down to a good clean surface. So that's where we're going to run our ground to our frame. A little bit different, but it looks out of the way. I don't see any issues with it. It's going to be a clean, simple look. So yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. We'll go ahead and get that one installed on this side, run it down there, and then kind of see where we're at. Same thing, we have two different sized ends on it. So we'll take our big end right here and go directly down to the frame. All right, we got a little bit of extra lead, but as of right now, that's just the way I'm gonna leave it. This one's pretty simple. This one's just gonna go from here, from your terminal to this little body ground. So that just will run straight to here. More than likely gonna go ahead and put it on the big bolt right here. This is just for clamping of the terminal. So let's go ahead and just throw this one on. We did find a little bolt that's going to work, 10 millimeter. So this will just thread right in here. Also grinded that down to bare metal, so we're making good connection. But this one will be super easy to install. And then that will take care of the ground side. We'll go ahead and kind of route them the best we see fit. Then we have one more to cover that did not come in the kit. This is actually kind of a custom wiring job. I'll go over that. This is the ground for your ECM and your VP44, but let's go ahead and get this other one installed, and then we'll cover how this one's ran. All right, so that's how we're gonna have to run it. This one's gonna stick up just a little bit because if you ran it back over here, you had a big arch right here, and I'm not sure if the hood would have closed. So just to make sure that we clear that, that's how we're gonna run it. But there's 3 of them installed from the kit. This side's pretty simple. The hot side, we're gonna have to get down there into the starter and things like that. But let's go ahead and cover the last ground. This is the one that you see right here. But if you trace this all the way down, we did run it with the rest of the electrical harness all the way down here across the front part of the truck, the front frame, and then back into the inner part of our fender well. But what this is this is coming from your PCM. All right, so there's a ground in here, and then also tied into that is your ground that goes from your VP44. So this ends right here, and then you usually have 2 little wire connectors that will hook up right here, one to the ECM, one to the VP44. But we went ahead and cut that, ran it down here to the frame, and spliced it or butt connected it into this heavier gauge wire, and that runs together up here. So this one's from the PCM going back that way. This one's from the VP44. Put a butt connector on this, spliced them together, and then we just ran this all the way across back to the ground side of the battery. If you still have your stock second battery, there's another cable coming across that splits into what would be your connection for your VP44 and your PCM. But sometimes that can throw electrical issues. That's not always the greatest connection. Basically, it looks like this. This is the ABS stuff, but that's kind of what it looks like. To avoid any issues regarding PCM and VP44 failure, making sure that we still have around 12 volts going throughout the system, then that is how we are going to run that back to negative terminal on the battery. So let's go ahead and get this one hooked up. I'm thinking I'm going to have to run it on this side as we already have 2 right here, but we do have the top post, but I'm going to use that for accessories. I'm thinking I'm going to use that for our air dog because I know that we still have these 2 to hook up. We'll run that, see where we're at, and then kind of go from there. But that's the idea behind this one single ground cable that may not look factory because that's the way we ran it. But we'll go ahead and put it on that side, get that hooked up, and then take a look at our ground side on our air dog, and then move into giving the truck power on the hot side. All right, here's everything on the ground side installed. Luckily, I found a nut that fit that, but We already talked about how this has to roll under. This is gonna arch up, and then this one is on a single side by itself, and then we have the ground from the VP44 and PCM along with our ground from our AirDog, and that is it as far as the ground side goes. So super clean, about the best that you can wire up a second gen, hoping for no problems, no electrical issues moving forward. The next thing we have to look at is the hot side. There's going to be a little different variation. This truck did have an external voltage regulator on it, which for whatever reason, the 01 to 02 trucks, they ran their power from the alternator back through this cable right here into your fuse box or tip them. And this right here was your fuse in case you started overcharging. You know, it would pop, and then it would protect your system that way. But every other third gen, fourth gen, most of the time you just run your alternator cable directly back to your battery, and then you have the hot cable running from your battery back to this nut. So the cable that we got from Performance Cables has a fusible link in it, so it should protect overcharging and things of that nature. It's just that these 01 trucks are a little bit different. As you can see, like here's the cable coming from the back of the alternator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bypass all that, take this off, run the one provided in the kit from this stud back here. We're just going to go ahead and run it kind of freely up and above the alternator, kind of follow this trace right here, come up off that and go to our hot side of our battery. And then after that, we'll do the starter, which is going to be fun to crawl underneath. That one shouldn't be too bad as well. And then we have this one from our AirDog, and then we just have the one running from there to our fuse box, and that should be it. If all this works properly, we should have about 11.8 to 12 volts coming from this. That means that we tapped the VP44 correctly, and that means they're also getting power throughout the entire system of the truck. But let's go ahead and start knocking out the hot side. This will be a little more work, but let's hop into it. One thing I forgot to mention, as you can see, we have one last open plug underneath the hood, and that is for this cable right here that runs down to your starter. Pretty sure that just tells the truck if the starter's hot or not, but we do need to cut this and run it into a butt connector that is supplied by Performance Cable, and then we just need to plug it into here. As you can see, here is our butt connector for this. We want to keep the factory in so it plugs in, and then we just want to cut it where we see fit, strip it back, and then put it in that butt connector. So we'll go ahead and start trying to knock that out. Let's get this bolted to the starter first, so we know where to set the length on this cable and cut it, strip it back, and call it good. So I'll put you on a tripod underneath the truck, hopefully, where y'all can see where all this is going to bolt into, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we go. These are just going to run down to the bottom. Pretty self-explanatory. The little one goes on the small stud, and the big one goes on the big stud. So as you can see, those are tightened down. That was a 17 millimeter. That is an 8 millimeter. We had to go around the back of the starter just because of the angle at which it was going to have to sit. If it was heading this direction, it would kink right here. This is pretty thick, doesn't want to bend all too easily. So we went back around, everything lined up perfectly. These are tight. I feel confident with that. So we'll go ahead, go up to the top side. All right, everything looks good right here. We just need to turn that one a little bit. It should be able to mount just like that. And then you can't forget about butt connecting this. We don't need much, as here is a connector and then here is our lead. We're basically all the way to it, but we do need to go ahead and put the factory connector back on it. So we'll probably cut about 5 inches of wire and then we'll call it good. So we're good on that. We need to get our positive terminal, put that on there, tighten it up, and then we'll take this big lead and run it just like that. All right, there she is hooked up, not tightened down, but got everything wired. This one right here, went ahead and crimped that down. Got this. That was a little tighter connection than I thought. You had to give it a good little squeeze, but that is everything ran down there. We'll be sure to clean up all this. I just want to make sure that we have everything ran. Next thing is we're just going to go ahead and jump from the positive side battery post to our fuse box right here. That is this small cable right here. TIPM supply, fuse box, and then straight to the positive side of the battery. They have everything labeled. It's very nice. So we're going to go ahead and get this one installed. And the great thing about these battery cables is they understand the turns or the general lay of how the wiring is on these second gen trucks. So as you can see, this one's flat, horizontal, but our terminal needs a vertical connection. So you can kind of see they already took that in consideration. This is going to go on there super nice and easy. That is very well thought out, very, very nice battery cable set. We're just going to leave it like that for now. We need to go ahead and hook this up. I do have about 7 gallons of diesel in the tank, so if the air dog does kick on, we're not starving it, burning up the pump. So we'll just see where we're at. I do not want to fire it up, so we'll just see how it is after we get this alternator cable ran back over here. That's the last one that we have. We'll hop in the cab after this and see what we have. Go ahead and cut these ties off there. All right, so this is our last cable. Here's your fusible link inside here. And then here is the connection that goes to the battery. This is the one, whoops. This one's going to our alternator. There's a stud back there. So we're just gonna take this one off. This doesn't really apply to anything until we turn the truck on, but just wanna run this one. I don't trust the other one. We can go over how that one sits. This is what the factory one looks like. Very thin gauge considering what kind of voltage it's carrying. And here's what it looks like on the other end. So just 22-year-old truck. But this is the way it's factory wired. So very strange compared to a normal 3rd gen or 4th gen. But we're just going to run this now. We're going to snake it through here, follow our engine harness, and then we'll just kind of veer off and go straight to the battery. All right, so for now, that's what it's gonna look like. You got a good sturdy cover, and then we'll tighten this one up. And then right now I just have it running through this wiring harness, probably just gonna zip tie it for now. I don't really have P-clamps big enough to hold all this, but this is super heavy gauge wired compared to the factory one. And then we'll just go ahead, run it across. We will not be utilizing this right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw the 10mm bolt back on there. You can see right here. And so feel free in the comments if I am doing anything wrong, or if you see something that just looks completely out of whack or crisscrossed, or I got a ground on a hot or a hot on a ground, then be sure to call that out in the video. I'm sure I'll catch it. Well, we're not going to run the alternator supply to the TIPM or the fuse box. We're going to run it straight back to the battery. And we're going to see how the truck acts. It may act funny. It may not even read out. It may throw a code because the alternator's not hooked up into here. But as of right now, I talked to Brendan over there at Performance Cable. That's what he said to do. He said he hasn't seen a truck like this. He has another customer that's running into the same issue. He was getting some factory pictures. I told him that this truck right now is not factory enough to send off good data, good pictures to diagnose the truck. But as of right now, that's how we're gonna run it. All right, so there's everything complete. All the wiring's done up under the cab in the engine bay. So we're gonna go over it, make sure I didn't miss anything on camera together. Let's just go ahead and start with the passenger side, work our way over, and then from there, hop in the truck, key on, and whatever happens, happens. If we have to diagnose problems, we will. So we got alternator tight. We got our PCM ground ran spliced into our VP44 ground. VP44 ground is coming from here down here, running across the frame. That's grounded right here. We got air dog ground. We got frame to negative. We got block to negative, and then we got body to negative. So all that's tight, all that's good to go. Hot side is starter, big cable connected, starter, small cable connected right here. And then hot side alternator right here, and then just hot side to our air dog. So as of right now, that is everything for this truck to be hot. Let's go ahead and hop in it. Here's the key. Let's see what it does. This will be the first time that this truck has had power in over 2 years. And would you look at that? Let's see what kind of codes it throws. We still have an ABS code. You can't really see that. Let me turn this. Now we got a fuel light on, so our sending. All right, so hopefully you can see this down here. 239,000 miles on it. Y'all have never seen this truck. So this is the first time that this truck is powered on in over 2.5 years. Sorry for the bad videoing. It kind of took my breath away whenever I heard everything kick on. That is very exciting. We do have airbag for the passenger light going. It shows that we're at negative 40 degrees. So we got some things to work on. We got one dome light working. But as far as the dash goes, this is the same exact lights that we had on. Well, low fuel because I only have 7 gallons in the back, but that means our sending unit is working. But ABS was the only light that we had on when we turned this truck off and tore it down. So with that being said, I am very, very pleased to see that I'm not throwing anything. I don't see anything as far as voltage concerns. All we have is a fastened seat belt. The parking brake is on. Well, the parking brake's not even connected. And down there, it's pushed all the way to the floor. So pretty stoked right now that everything turned on. And we're not just getting a whole Christmas tree of dash lights. I'm very tempted to try to just turn the engine over, not start it, just to get the pump, the air dog, to start supplying the lift pump with fuel. So it's not sitting in there dry. But this is awesome. Let's get out and take a look at it. So yeah, everything should be hot. We'll go ahead and check these. I don't know if I'm going to put that on video, but holy cow, guys. So I think everything's carrying voltage the way it should. It sure does look like we have everything ready to go. That was the point of this video, to get exactly where we are right now. Super stoked. Being able to open the door, and we have a dome light working, and we only have ABS and fuel light on. Wow. Holy cow. So I think that is going to close this video. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Next video, we're just going to go ahead and hop into putting the intercooler in and the radiator and all the front clip stuff, you know, button everything up and then go from there. But yeah, super, super stoked, super excited. All this hard work is starting to pay off. Key on power. I can key it off. We can go from there. This is kind of the baseline. I wanted to get this set in stone to where we're not having any electrical issues, and then from there, really next thing, monumental step is going to be first fire, but there's a video coming out about that. There's some inner work, so we'll just have to stay tuned for that. But that will close out this video. I appreciate you following along, watching this video, following along with the truck build. Super awesome. Very stoked, very happy. So be sure to share this where you talk diesel. I'll be in the Facebook forums, probably doing some extra content. Probably put some on my TikTok about this step. So yeah, be sure to like, subscribe. If you have any comments, leave them below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Boss out.